So congratulations, we're formally approved. We're almost there. What I want to do today is just take a couple of minutes to talk about what happens between now, so we've got the approval, and what happens at settlement date, and everything that essentially has to happen in between those times. So now is definitely a time to celebrate, and we do still have things to do, but today is a huge milestone in our overall home loan journey. We're really almost there. The rest of it is to a large extent an administrative process, but an important administrative process. All right, so the first thing for us to do is to get a hold of the loan documents and sign them. So we're going to get these, maybe physical documents, could be DocuSign, they might be sent directly from the lender to us, and then we forward them on to you. They may be sent directly to you, and so depending on which lender will determine exactly how they've gotten to you, but we're here to help you get these signed. We'll be in touch, book in a time to ensure that everything with them goes smoothly and perfectly and in as fast and easy a fashion as possible. All right, so what are the other settlement conditions that we need to be aware of and we need to basically achieve between now and settlement? One of those is insurance. We need to provide the bank with what's called a certificate of currency confirming that you have building insurance for your property. Now, we will give you specific details once the loan documents are sent to us from the lender. Now, some will require a certain level of cover for the property, others won't. Some will require some won't require any cover at all. Generally with strata properties, we don't actually require them. I would say probably 10% of the time the lender would like to see the strata insurance document. Now that's available from your strata manager because you don't take out property insurance directly if you have a strata unit or townhouse, that sort of thing. Now the other one is vacant land. We're not going to have house insurance or vacant land either. So that's the other one to think about there. Now, another settlement condition is whether you need to pay out other loans. Now, if it's a refinance, one of the settlement conditions would be paying out the other loan. It's an obvious one. It's one the bank's going to take care of, but it will sit there as a settlement condition nonetheless. A fairly easy one and one that we take care of, ensuring that it is paid out on settlement. Now, the ones to really think about and take note of, if we need credit cards paid out or personal loans paid out. Now, personal loans can generally quite easily be paid out on settlement. So what we do is basically get a letter from the personal lender confirming the payout figures, payout details, and they will say make payment to this account, or maybe they've got like BPay or something like that set up. Do it in this fashion. We send that to the lender, and the lender will do that as part of the settlement. Now, the other way to pay out a personal loan would be to pay it out first prior to settlement. Now, that only works if you have the cash. If you need the cash from the refinance to pay out the personal loan, then hey, we're doing it at settlement. But if you do have the cash, you can pay it out early, and we would need to provide the lender with the letter confirming that the loan has been paid out. Now, same for credit cards. Now, credit cards, we generally can't get a letter, a payout letter for a credit card. They just don't really exist. So most of the time with credit cards, we do one of two things. You either pay it out early and get a letter for us, and we send that on to the bank. Now, also know if you are going to pay these out early, we do generally need quite a bit of time, or we do want to leave a bit of time just to be able to get that letter confirming that it has been paid out, because depending on the lender, they might take a week, maybe even longer, to get you the letter after you've paid it out confirming that it's been paid out. So the other way with credit cards, which pretty much all lenders are okay with once we go back to them, is to say, hey, we can't get a payout letter, but we do need these funds from settlement to actually pay out the credit card itself. So they will generally allow us just to give them payment details and confirm the balance of the credit card the day of or the day prior to settlement. They'll pay that credit card balance out, and they will then expect you as the borrower to close that credit card. Now, whether they follow up on that or not is up to them. Some do, some just leave you to close it yourself. All right, for a purchase, there will be a couple of conditions that relate to your solicitor. So if there's a condition in regards to, hey, we need a transfer document, or we need a sign off from the Foreign Investment Board, or we need the fully executed contract of sale, those things we will get from your solicitor or conveyancer. So don't worry about those items. They're not things that you will need to get yourself. Now, another big condition is the funds to complete. So if you're purchasing a property and you're utilising deposit funds, we will help organise an account with the bank for you to put those funds in well in advance of settlement, so that the bank can then take those funds along with the loan funds to pay the vendor the complete remaining amount. It's far simpler and easier method for you, rather than either putting money in the solicitor's trust account or organising some sort of bank check. Now, this account is generally known as the shortfall account, as it represents the shortfall or difference between the loan and what is owing to the vendor at settlement. So a $1.5 million property, maybe you pay 10%, so then there's $1.35 million owing to the vendor at settlement, and you've paid stamp duty in the meantime. Let's say your loan is $1 million, then $350,000 would be that required shortfall. That's the amount that we would be putting into this account, with some sort of small buffer. Now, we will let you know what account that is. We'll organise that account. It's part of when we sign the loan documents. If it's somehow been missed, we can organise it afterwards quite easily, and we will let you know exactly how much, with a bit of a buffer to put in there, just to ensure that we've got funds to complete on settlement date. All right, now another condition other conditions might include maybe extra ID verification potentially, but there's not really generally any other sort of settlement conditions, as they've really all been signed off prior to issuing the loan documents. All right, booking a settlement date. Now, this can generally be booked once documents are returned to the bank. Normally, not all conditions need to be finalised by this point of booking, but obviously the sooner the conditions are finalised, the better. Now, this date for a refinance is likely to be 1 to 2 weeks from the lender checking the documents that have been returned. We will work with you to get a discharge to the current lender at an early stage, so that your current lender can act quickly and be ready to take a refinance booking. Now, for a purchase, this will be the date on your contract, unless you have agreed with the vendor on a different date to settle. So the vendor might say, hey, do you mind if we settle a little bit later because we still haven't found a property? Maybe they've sold their property and they want to buy. Now, you could agree to that or you could not. Or maybe you say to them, hey, there's no one in the property at the moment. Everything's organised. Loan documents are back. We'd really like to be able to move in a month's time instead of waiting for 2 months. Are you guys happy with that? And the vendor will generally say yes. So it is one of those targets that can quite easily be moved if both parties agree to it. Now, it is very important, and I can't stress how important, to leave some wiggle room around this date in regards to your current living situation and doing things like moving out and booking removalists. Now, settlements can fall over for many reasons, even if we are fully prepared and booked in. For example, the vendor may have forgotten to submit a loan discharge for their property, and so the vendor's bank won't allow the settlement to go ahead until they are ready. And sometimes this seems to be found out a couple of days prior to settlement, which is ridiculous. But there is the odd occasion this does occur. Now, also, if the purchase for you is part of a simultaneous settlement for the seller, and their purchase, so they're selling their property and purchasing another, if their purchase is delayed by their vendor, they can delay your settlement at essentially no cost to themselves, which can leave you completely in the lurch. Now, for this reason, I recommend you have somewhere else to live for at least a week after settlement, and don't book a removalist until at least 1 to 2 days after settlement has been booked. Having to cancel removalists is one thing, pretty annoying, but having no emergency plan should your settlement be delayed for where you are living is another. And that's why I say a week for wherever you're living right now. Ensure that you have an extra week or so that you could live there after settlement date. Now, for example, if you're renting, leave at least 1 week on the lease. This will give you time to move out. And also, if there's a couple of days crossover, that's fantastic. That's what you want. Time to move out, all those little bits and pieces, time to clean and rectify anything that the letting agent wants you to fix. Now, if you're selling, organise some sort or try to organise some sort of just-in-case accommodation, either with friends or family. Now, if you're selling and your sale goes through and your purchase doesn't, there may be a gap there. Now, sometimes it might not be possible to organise something in between, but it will cause you so much less stress if you have a plan, and if you have a plan well and truly in advance, not just coming up with a plan on the day of settlement and settlement being postponed. Now, something else to do is talk with the vendor about moving in prior to settlement if you need to. Now, this can be done with essentially what's called a pre-settlement short-term rental or lease agreement, which can be organised between the solicitors. Now, certainly from this point on, basically assume you're going to settle a week late. Now, does this ever happen? It's extremely rare. I mean, it's extremely rare for us to settle a day late or a couple of days late, really. But also thinking about what you would need in place is a good idea early on. You don't want to be thinking about this the day of settlement after finding out the vendor has postponed settlement for no good reason, basically. Now, the other thing to do, brainstorm with us. If you're unsure or don't have what you feel like is a concrete plan, or you have circumstances that you feel are somewhat out of the ordinary, chances are I or my team have seen it before, and we may be able to help think of a solution, even if it's an out-of-the-box one. All right, the journey forward. So from this point, we're basically going to hold you by the hand, and if you are ever unsure or want to talk, we're only ever a call away, or email, or whatever you want to do, basically. Now, we will ensure that you're going to be ready for settlement and also be liaising with your team for a purchase. So for a purchase, being a solicitor conveyancer, maybe a buyer's agent, that sort of thing. But for every need, question, anything like that, we're always here, always available. So please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any concerns whatsoever. Especially if you think it's a stupid question, because it almost certainly won't be a stupid question, but we probably will have the answer. And so it's a good question to ask. Anyway, fantastic. Congratulations again. Celebrate right now, and let's continue on this journey to settlement.